Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Weekly Entertainment. There's a lot of stories in the news this week that we're going to get to. But first of all, we have to talk about some very important special events we have coming. The Crazy Mark Celebrity Bash and Roast. Right now we're talking to a couple venues, so that's still in the works, but that's coming up for March. And again, the whole crew is going to be there. And everyone remembers Crazy Mark. You know, he was my mentor. He was the original host of this show. He was the guy who wore the Fred Flintstone getup and the rainbow wig and everything. And I'm a little more conservative than that, but we all miss him. He was a great, huge host and just a lot of fun. My personal mentor, my best friend, and we're gonna have a huge Crazy Mark Celebrity Roast coming up next month. And once we get some more info, we're posted on the website. Can we get the website up there? And that's weekly. There it is, weeklyentertainment.org. And also, if you want to be come on the show as a special guest, just go to the website and fill out the forms, and you too can show your face on TV and make Mama proud. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a band, if you're a juggler, magician, singer, model, actress, anything. If you have any crazy talent, sword swallowers. We're looking for anything, folks. We're not. We're pretty open-minded here at Weekly Entertainment. But okay, coming up, we have some really important news stories. There's been quite a bit going on lately. We're going to be talking about the cruise ship that was stranded at sea, and the people were. It was just a horrible time, and we have a very special call-in guest. So you want to get yourself a big bucket of buttered popcorn for that one, because we have an extremely special guest, and we have we're going to be talking to our CIA expert who was on the show last week, and we're going to be talking about airline etiquette, because recently we had the story about the man who slapped a toddler. Can you believe it? Devil to some, hero to others. You decide. Okay, well, again, if you want to keep up current on all the on our upcoming events, visit the website, and that's weeklyentertainment.org. There we go, and we'll be back. Okay, and we're back. Thanks for joining us. We have a very important news story. I'm sure all of you have heard about this. This was all over the news over the last 2 weeks about the Carnival cruise ship Triumph that was basically stranded out at sea. It left Galveston, Texas on Thursday I believe that was 2 weeks ago now. But they lost power after a fire in the propulsion system, and they were basically adrift with no electricity and no running water, which means I guess some of the reports coming back from this is the toilets were backing up, and there was sewage running from the walls and the floors, and the carpets were just completely soaked with fecal matter and urine. And if you walked, you'd hear squishing noises because it was just so soaked with urine. The ship went 5 days without power, and of course, people were fighting over food, and they were having to sleep in tents on the upper decks because the lower decks were completely just uninhabitable, basically. And of course, Carnival, being as gracious as they were, they completely refunded all the passengers for their cruises. Because I'm sure, I've never been on a cruise personally, but I'm sure they're very expensive and, cost thousands of dollars. And I'm sure some people were there on honeymoons or wanted a nice getaway. And what they ended up with was, a boat full of poop. Well, they refunded for their cruise. They got a voucher for another cruise for a free one, which was very cool. I don't know if I would trust the cruise line again. And they were received, which kind of seems like a slap in the face to me or adding insult to injury, but they received a check for $500, which doesn't really seem like a whole lot of money for having to live in poop for, 5 days. Some of the reports from some of the people who worked below deck after the engine exploded, I guess we have a statement from one of these workers. I believe his name was Mr. Scott. Do we have a picture of him? There we go. Okay, yeah, his statement was, "I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. I cannot change the laws of physics." Okay, I don't exactly know what that means, but whatever happened, it left the ship 5 days floating at sea without any power. And one more adding insult to injury, was there was a bunch of buses waiting for the passengers after they got off, and I guess it was Atlanta, I want to say. The ship left Galveston and it was towed back to Atlanta. And I guess there was a line of 100 buses waiting to take the passengers to hotels or whatever their next destination was going to be, whether it be the airport or they were going to take a bus home or whatnot. But once on the bus, the passengers were handed a bag containing food provided by Carnival, which contained French fries, chicken nuggets, and honey mustard sauce, and an apple, which started the fecal chain reaction once again, and again, buses had to be shuffled around. Well, we have a very special guest. He was on the scene. He was on the cruise. And today we have none other. This is such an honor for me. We have none other than Mr. Michael Jackson. He's calling in from Galveston, Texas. This is very exciting. So let's see. Hey, Michael, are you there? Thanks for joining us. I understand you were on the cruise.
Yes, I was, and it was horrible.
Can you tell us a little bit about the conditions?
I was sitting in my room having milk and cookies. And the next thing you know, there's doo-doo on the walls.
Wow, from the sewage pipes breaking? I know we heard reports of fecal matter and urine coming from the floors and walls. Yes, doo-doo. Sounds like you had a horrible time, and you were refunded for this?
That's ignorant. That's ignorant.
They only refunded you $500.
Ignorant.
You know, aren't you supposed to be dead, Michael?
That's just ignorant.
Okay. Now, do you have anything you want to promote? A song or an album or anything?
I wrote a song about my ordeal.
Really?
Want to hear it? I'm talking to the man in the cruise ship. Woo-hoo. I'm asking him to make a change. And no message could have been any clearer. When you're on the cruise ship and there's doo-doo on the walls, take a look at your cruise line and make a change. Na 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 na. Woo! Thank you, Rudolph. Have a good night. And that's ignorant.
Michael Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, what an honor to have such a celebrity. And apparently he was on that cruise, and he went through the same horrors that everyone else did. That raises more questions, but that's the only time we had. So, okay, well, that's the end of this segment, and we have a very special guest today, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Welcome back to the show, and let's jump right into it. We have returning to the studio. He never left, ladies and gentlemen. He's still here from last week and the week before that. We have Agent Smith. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Rudolph. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, good. You got my name right that time. Thank you. We'd like to thank you for being on the show last week, and that was a very interesting alien discussion. But with the time you spent in the military, which we'll get to this shortly, I understand you know a little bit about transportation, and we have this news story about a man who slapped a toddler, basically. But we'll talk about that shortly, though. I'm sure you can give us some insight into that, correct?
That's great, Randolph. No problem.
The proper way to handle different situations, whether you're on a cruise ship or whether you're on a train or any mode of transportation. Something could happen. You got to be ready for anything.
Well, restraint is always important. Always.
Okay. Well, of course, this is this being the Motor City. I thought this would be an interesting story. This 4-year-old named Eli, he drew in crayon this car, his dream car. It's going to have a air-conditioned trunk for all of his toys, and it has, according to this story, it has 49 Porsche Boxster engines in it, and something like 42 wheels. And of course, after a viral campaign online, BMW actually drew this thing up for him. Can we see a picture of that? The BMW that is cool. You got to admit, isn't it, Mr. Smith?
I think it's a sterling example of the continuing German penchant for oversized toys.
Exactly. Which also brings me to another point. I mean, this is just one person. It's one person's vision. A lot of cars today are made in a committee in a boardroom with hundreds of people, all throwing their ideas together. And I think that we need more mavericks like young Eli here to further the automotive industry. We need visionaries. And with visionaries, you get cars like this. Can we show some of these examples of fine cars? Aston Martin, work of art in itself. Beautiful, beautiful car. Let's move on to the next one. The Ferrari Enzo Ferrari designed that beautiful, gorgeous sports car. That's a what do you call it? That's a DeLorean. That's a DeLorean DMC-12 designed by none other than John DeLorean. I actually owned one of those, and it's a rolling work of art designed by one person, not a boardroom. And these were all designed by mavericks, people with a vision. And I think that's why this story is so exciting, because once you go into the boardroom and you have a huge committee, all these minds working together, you get examples like, can we show some examples of non-attractive cars designed by focus groups? The Pontiac Aztek. What can we say about that? What else do we have? That's the new Corvette, which looks like it evolved from the Pontiac Aztek. Just hideous. And the smart car. Lovely, isn't it?
Well, Robert, I don't know if you ever heard it said that a camel was an elephant designed by a committee.
Exactly. Perfect. I think we can end on those words. Now, go from visionaries to this man could be considered a visionary to some. Like I said in the monologue, he's a demon to some and a hero to others. We have a story from a Minneapolis man charged with slapping a toddler on a flight. I guess his name was Joe Ricky Hunley, according to the story from Hayden, Idaho. 6 years old. He was an employee of AGC Aerospace. I guess he was a really high up exec of the company, and this basically ended his career. Now, you being in the CIA,
Not the CIA, Randolph.
Okay. What branch of the military were you in?
I am as part of the silent services, the special services.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. For last week you were talking about
Yes.
UFOs
As I explained to you before, I am the senior deputy under manager of all special services.
Okay.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes, you've heard that the President of the United States is called POTUS.
Yes.
And the First Lady is called First Lady of the United States, FLOTUS.
Correct.
Well, I am the senior dumbass in my area.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, how would you have handled this situation? I know this guy. Apparently he was drunk. This could happen on a cruise ship, on a train, plane, anywhere. How do you diffuse a situation like this? You have somebody, either it's a crying child or a drunken, disorderly person on a flight. How would you personally handle this?
Well, let me address this first.
Okay.
When this happened, we immediately did a background check. Discovered the man is not a military veteran, so he can't blame Agent Orange. He can't blame stress. He can't claim PTSD. He's just a jerk.
Okay.
This is, obviously, you don't treat a child like that.
No, but on the other side of the coin, haven't all of us thought about doing it? You're in the movie theater. You have a screaming child. You go to a restaurant. Maybe you're on a date or with your wife or something, and just the whole entire time the kids are screaming and crying and just out of control. I don't have kids, so I don't know what it's like. So maybe I can't comment on it, but we've all been there.
Well, understand that in my position, I have the capability in a restaurant, a movie theater, etc., of making one fast phone call. The offending individual or individuals will be politely removed and detained until I'm done with my evening. Then they'll be quietly released with absolutely no memory of what's going on.
Oh wow, really?
It's one of the perks of my job.
Okay. Have you
Being
ever
senior dumbass does have its perks.
have you ever actually used that?
You yourself a few weeks ago mentioned that you had 6 hours that you forgot
That's
about.
correct. So that could have been a government thing.
Well, no, because you remember that you forgot.
Okay,
It's when
that
you
was correct.
forgot you forgot and don't know that you forgot. That's what we do.
So okay, I forgot what I forgot, but I don't forget what I did forget.
Exactly. You're
Okay,
you're
okay.
getting the whole concept.
Because like to recap that, the UFO came over. Next thing I know, it's 6 hours later. So there was some kind of other agency involved in that. Is that what you're trying
Externally
to tell me?
implanted memories is what that's called.
Okay.
Externally implanted memories.
Well, we can't really do that to a whole plane full of people. Can
You'd
you?
be surprised. But we're getting into sensitive areas here, security
so that's
areas.
why they show really bad movies in flights, because really there's, this is just me throwing this out there, but could there be subliminal messages in those really bad movies?
sometimes Hollywood just makes really bad movies.
Okay. Which is another thing what I don't understand about flights is, why do they show bad movies? Why don't they show good, first run, high quality movies? If I'm going to die in a plane crash, I want to be watching, an Academy Award winning movie, and instead of Medea goes to jail or something like that. Is that why, or
It's all done by accountants. You have to understand that. Yes. One of the largest overhead costs that the airlines have, and trains and buses too, to a lesser extent, is turnaround time.
turnaround? Okay.
If they showed you a good movie, you'd be sitting there in the warm afterglow and enjoying yourself, and you'd be in no hurry to leave. By showing you something really, really bad, you can't wait to exit that airplane, and it's all the faster they can get the next group back on.
But won't it won't it cause frustration in the actual passengers? Maybe it'll make them violent, to see an Adam Sandler movie. I know it would make me, want to, because you have no escape from it.
Well,
so what are you supposed to do at that point? And then you mix in, screaming children, and you're trapped with Adam Sandler and a screaming child. And I don't know which one is worse, frankly, and it could cause violence. And you're adding alcohol to the mix, too.
Which really makes Adam Sandler movies tolerable, if you'll think about it. In
The only
fact,
way to
I don't know
enjoy them
about
is
you,
when
but
you're
that's
high,
yes, that's the only time
yeah.
I've ever been able to enjoy them.
Okay.
There's some very interesting drinking games associated with that too.
Okay. But you can't really do that on a flight again. So there's obviously something causing frustration, and not only do we have the NTSB, you have the long waiting lines, you have the searches, the body scans, and which your branch of government is responsible for. Don't you think that your extremely draconian measures are causing frustration among the passengers, which is leading to violence?
Well, first off, Raspberry, to reference what we talked about before the show started, no, you can't get some of the private tapes. That's just not allowed.
Okay.
We keep them within the department.
Okay.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I do see your point. It's valid. We don't care.
You don't care. So
No.
that basically you guys don't care. You're just going to do what you want to do, no matter how violent it makes the passengers. So you basically have a plane full of angry customers, and then you have stories like this that happen. The man slapping a small child.
Stop and think. Number one, we are a government entity. We don't care about the customers. That's you, the supplier of the service, problem.
Okay, and again, on top of it, I don't know if you're just beating around the bush here, or you can't answer or won't answer, but
Did you ever hear the word obfuscation?
yes,
Robert?
I'm aware with that.
Good. Can you spell it?
Moving right along.
Okay, that's what
didn't
I
know this was
thought.
going to turn into a spelling bee.
Another wonderful example of our federally funded educational system.
Yes, absolutely. But this man was he was head of a large company too. He reeked of alcohol. He was belligerent, uncomfortable. Mr. NTSB, explain that. You would think, for as much as we pay for airline tickets, as much as we pay to have our luggage, we actually have to pay for extra bags on the plane. what is going on here?
You-
Why was this man uncomfortable to begin with?
You have to understand it's hard for me, a government employee, to relate to this for the simple reason that I get free flights wherever I want to go.
Okay. And we don't.
Well, that's one of the little perks of being senior dumbass, as I said before.
That's very true, sir. Very true.
Now, you keep referring to this poor little child that was struck by this obviously inebriated, old, over the hill.
He was 6 years old.
Oh, write him off. Once
Write
they
'em
hit
off?
60, write them off.
Okay.
Put them out to pasture, you know,
Basically, like
feed them
Logan,
grass.
like Logan's Run. Once you reach a certain age, you're basically killed. You know. Send him off to carousel.
Actually, Rudy, you'd be surprised how many times we base public policy on popular movies.
Really? I can kind of see that. It makes sense. Now, you know, again, we talked about this, this cruise ship. How would you have wrangled those customers? Again, it wasn't their fault. And then they're only handed a measly $500 at the end.
Well, the trick there is where was the ship registered?
Oh.
There are
okay.
almost no passenger ships registered in the United States because we have rules and regulations.
I did not know that.
And these foreign companies build these big, beautiful ships in foreign lands, and then they stock them with foreign workers, but you pay good American dollars, and then what do you get? You get basically the equivalent of some small town in Italy.
Aha.
And what good is that?
And you end up with a
Did
boat
you-
with feces, streaming down the walls.
Did you hear Italian tourists complain? Did you hear
No.
French tourists complain?
No.
No. All you heard was our good, proud Americans who expect a higher standard.
That's right. We do expect a higher
Exactly.
standard. We want satisfaction.
So why aren't they on an American cruise ship?
Well, according to you, there aren't any. So I guess maybe another
See,
visionary, another maverick will
you
start
prove
his
my
own.
point.
Yes. That's what we need. More visionaries, more mavericks, and we'll be all right. Now we have a simulation, I guess. You brought a simulation for us.
Yes,
the
we
airline.
keep going back to this poor child being hit by the man.
Yes,
and it all
which
boils.
is completely uncalled for.
It certainly is. However, in certain cases, I can understand the how to put it.
The mindset?
The removal of restraint.
Okay.
You know, obviously you're sitting next to a crying child. The mother's not doing anything to comfort it. And, you know,
It has to drive you crazy, though. I know
It
when I'm in a
does.
restaurant, it just drives you bonkers.
it does. It does. And usually the smart thing to do is to hit the adult.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've all been, brought up not to hit a woman.
You ever been hit by a woman?
I have.
They're
actually.
strong.
They are. I've been thrown out of a moving car by a woman once. True story.
Well, I'm sure she was justified.
And then she tried to run me over. Well, enough about my love life. Let's move on.
Yes, the past is past. Let me explain to you what you really should have done. What I've done was bring one of our test babies
A
from the
test
laboratory.
baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're babies that people forgot, and we take them in and nurture them and train them, etc.
You do.
Yes. This
goes
is
with-
a wonderful
okay.
thing we do for these children.
That's
There.
frightening, folks. Okay, let's
Come here,
see
little
what
one.
you have
Come
here.
Here we go.
Okay.
Now you see, this is a perfectly fine little baby, not misbehaving.
Okay.
Everything's fine. In
It looks
fact,
very realistic.
you like the way they fitted him up with kind of a little sumo wrestler type
It's
diaper?
very, it's very, very.
There
very
was a
cute.
reason for that. Now, see, the way you want to do this, if you're going to hit the child, you
Okay.
have to stop and think about it, okay? Look at them carefully,
Okay.
and you talk to them really nice, and you try to get them to understand and to calm down. Obviously, as an adult, you're smarter than the child, so you want to do your best.
Right.
So
Exactly.
first you start
Okay.
out and you say, what a cute little kid, you know? And then just about the time, and you never telegraph, because, for example, if you were to let them know and go back like this,
Okay.
for all you know, boom! And you say, what are you doing? Oh, what the heck? I do. What?
Are you okay?
I'm afraid, Rudy, that this might be one of our children that's been already pre-trained in martial arts. We implant a chip in their head, and they can actually access computers.
Do you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? I better get out of the way. Are you okay? Hey. Can we get security in here, ladies? Hey, we need help here in the studio. Somebody, anybody. Are you okay? Can we? I think we need an EMS here in the studio, like ASAP. We have a. Just call 911. Anybody in the control room? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back in just a minute. We have pandemonium has broken out in the studio. We have a killer baby, and he's on the loose, and okay, folks, we're back. The baby's been neutralized. Agent Smith is knocked out cold. We're waiting for paramedics. Oh my God. I did not expect this. Well, that's almost all the time we have tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the pandemonium in the studio. Again. This is not the way. Oh, the humanity. Okay, visit the website, weeklyentertainment.org, and looks like the paramedics are coming in right now. Hey, hang on just 1 second, folks. We just hold out. We got 20 seconds left on the clock, and you guys can come work on Agent Smith here. He's knocked out cold. He needs medical attention. Weeklyentertainment.org. Thanks for joining us, and good night. Thanks to Michael Jackson, Agent Smith. Join us.
I'm talking to the man in the cruise ship. Woo-hoo. I'm asking him to make a change. And no message could have been any clearer. When you're on the cruise ship and there's doo-doo on the walls, take a look at your cruise line and make a change. Na 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 na. Woo! Thank you, Rudolph. Have a good night. And that's ignorant.